a lawsuit and a court order led to this disclosure. When pressed as to why this document was withheld, Jay Carney claimed the paper has nothing to do with Benghazi, despite its references to the death of our ambassador and to, quote, the Benghazi attack. Our own Ed Henry pushed back on that claim.
It's your turn.
If the email was not about Benghazi, as you said yesterday and say again today, why did the White House turn it over to a conservative group seeking information about Benghazi?
You would have to ask the State Department about how they responded to FOIA requests.
So where does that leave us now? Joining us now, Mark Thiessen. He's a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. Mark, where does that leave us?
With more questions than answers, quite honestly. I mean, look, the administration has been caught in two major lies here. The first lie is they said that all the documents relating to Benghazi have been shared with Congress and released, and they didn't share this one. So this is clear that that was untrue. Second, they said that Susan Rice depended entirely on the CIA's talking points, and that they changed one word, was Jay Carney's phrase for it. And it turns out that they not just changed one word, they wrote a whole set of their own talking points, which are included in an email that says 4 o'clock briefing for Susan's TV interviews, in which they said, instructed her that her goal of her interviews was to push the narrative that this was about an internet video and not a failure of Obama administration policy. So the question is, what did they know, and when did they know that was untrue? Was it willful ignorance, or was it intentional dishonesty? That's the question we don't have the answer to yet.
Because what was happening at the same time all of this was happening was those on the ground in Benghazi were telling our intel officials that this was a terror attack, that there were rocket-propelled grenades, there were mortars, this was pre-planned. They knew where the ambassador was in the compound, that all of their information was this was a terror attack. And so when Ben Rhodes is telling everybody it's all about a video, this administration knows that the intel on the ground is it was a pre-planned terror attack. At best for the administration, Mark, they had conflicting narratives, and yet they chose the one that was most politically beneficial to the president.
That's exactly right. And look, General Lovell, who was the Deputy Director of Intelligence for Africa Command at the time, so he was in the information flow of the intelligence on this, he testified today that within hours they knew that there was no protest and that this was a terrorist attack. We also know that Jeff Morrell, who was acting CIA director at the time, he informed the White House before Susan Rice went on that the CIA station chief on the ground dissented from the protesting. So there is a document. There's still one other document that we do not have, or a series of documents that we do not have that we need that can get us the answers to this, which is let's get the presidential daily briefs for that week after the Benghazi attack. President Bush, after 9/11, released the presidential daily brief that showed that the CIA had warned that bin Laden was planning to attack America. Why doesn't President Obama the presidential daily brief that will tell us exactly what the intelligence community told him about whether there was a protest, how high a level of confidence they had in that, and whether there were any dissenting views, and when they told him that?
But as for the spin that's in this document where the White House is telling people it's all about the video, the White House today seems to be saying, I'm telling you, even though there are references to Benghazi in that document, that was guidance about the protests in general in the Middle East, despite the fact that it was all about Susan Rice's appearance on 5 Sunday talk shows the next day. They would have us believe that was not in their head. They were just thinking about, the Middle East in general, and not about the fact that we had a dead ambassador and 3 other dead Americans.
So why then did the president say what he said in that clip you showed at the beginning in that interview in late night television, where he said that there was an internet video that started a bunch of protests, including in Benghazi, which led to violence against our embassies? The president himself rebutted Jay Carney in that interview. This was about
That's
Benghazi.
A good point. That soundbite ties it directly. You have the president saying that the Benghazi attack is the result of a video.
On September 18th, so more than a week after the Benghazi attack, the president was basically reading Ben Rhodes' talking points from that memo, saying that these were all these protests, it was all related to a video, and that's what led to Benghazi, when by that time we are absolutely certain that he was told there was no protest.
Mark, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, there are